Hey guys, welcome to our channel. I know it's been a while, but today we're actually going to do our first official review of Infinity War. We went and saw it last Thursday. It was awesome. We loved it. So we wanted to kind of give you guys our review, but we decided that we kind of wait until a couple people have seen it so that we can actually just talk about the movie before we could just like talk about it, not have to worry about like doing like a spoiler version and a spoiler-free version. So in this version, we are going to do spoilers. We are going to talk about the movie. We're not going to talk about it from beginning to end, but we are going to talk about parts that really stood out to us. So Khalil and I are both going to give you probably about like 3 things that really like stood out to us. And then we're also going to really dive into what actually happened at the end, because I've gotten so many questions from my friends. My sister texted me. She wanted me to explain. Yeah. She wanted us to do this video so that she could really understand what happened.
Aisha, this is for you. Well, I mean, it's not just for you, but...
Yeah. So we're going to go into all that. But before we do all that, Khalil is going to tell you what to do.
If you have not already, please subscribe to our channel and make sure you hit the bell for notifications every time we do a new video.
Alright, so first of all, I mean, I guess it goes without saying, but I'm going to ask anyway. So what did you think of the movie?
Well, I mean, number one, it was an amazing movie, but number two, like, mine was just blown.
Yeah.
Like, well, number one, again, because I already said number one, but I went into this not knowing that there was an Infinity War Part 2. I had no idea. So I'm, like, sitting there looking at Miko like, but they just killed all these people, like, where's our movies? But there's a Part 2, so
yeah, I
feel
mean,
better.
I know I walked into it. I mean, I knew it was going to be a good movie. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Marvel Studios has been doing an amazing job for the last 10 years of just putting out good movies. Even the ones that aren't that great were still, like, good at the time that they came out, or they were, like, passable for the time that they came out. The big question, obviously, was going into this movie was whether or not it would stack up to Black Panther, because Black Panther was so good. And the last couple movies have been so good. Black Panther was really good. Thor Ragnarok was really good. Spider-Man Homecoming was so good. And so, like, these 3 movies have been really, really good. And it was interesting because none of those three movies really built up towards, well, Thor Ragnarok kind of did.
Yeah.
But the other 2 never really built up to Infinity War. So you were going into Infinity War kind of just based off of whatever trailers you saw, or just like the last 10 years worth of movies. And so it was really, the question for me was whether or not it would stack up.
Yeah.
And it did.
It did.
It did amazing.
I didn't expect it to be... I mean, I knew it was going to be good, but after seeing Black Panther, I was like, well, there's no way that it's going to be as good as Black Panther.
Well, yeah, because the difference between, I mean, Infinity War and all these other movies that I just mentioned was that, you know, for most of these movies, you have maybe 1, maybe 2 superheroes in this movie. Like 2 of the, like, you know, in Thor Ragnarok, you have Hulk and Thor. Black Panther, you have mainly Black Panther. In Spider-Man, you do have Peter and Tony Stark. So, you know, but in Infinity War, it's all of them. And so the question obviously was, okay, well, how do you make that flow? How do you put all of these characters into one movie and it have, you know, good cohesion and the story flows and everybody gets decent, not equal, but decent screen time.
Yeah.
And when they're on screen, do they hold your attention? And that's one thing that I was like just really impressed with, where, you know, you have the Avengers. Well, you have, let's break it down this way. You have Cap's team, which is Cap, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow and Falcon. You have that team, and everybody gets a moment to at least talk. You know, nobody's just kind of as a standing head. People are all there, and they're all involved in a situation. Then you have what I would call Teams Tony, which is Tony, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and a couple of the Guardians of the Galaxy. You get Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis. And then you have Team Thor, which I would call it, which is Thor, Rocket, and Groot. Oh, and also Gamora, I guess, would technically be a part of Team Tony, but she kind of gets captured before she gets to meet Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So, but so I think, yeah, that's the big overarching thing that stands out, is just how well they were able to mesh all all these characters, all these personalities, characters that I probably never met, and it flowed. Nothing felt forced. Nothing felt like, none of the dialogue felt overly forced. Even the moments that are, sometimes you have to be careful with comedy in some of these movies because you don't want it to be overly funny. But like the comedy was well placed. The comedy never took away from moments.
Right.
So that's one thing that I really appreciated about these movies, about this movie in particular. I think so. That's one thing I think we can both agree on, that we both like really stuck out to us in the movie.
Oh, you're just gonna speak for me. I mean, I do agree, but
Is there something else? Maybe two other things that maybe stood out to you in the movie?
are we like going tit for tat, or are we?
Yeah, we can go tit for tat.
Okay, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this first, but I'm just amazed that they were able to kill that many characters off, and I don't think any of us had any idea that they were gonna kill off that many of our characters, especially Black Panther and Spider-Man. I mean, we just got them.
Yeah.
We just got them, and they're gone.
It is really interesting that they took out. I think it was shocking because I think a lot of people were speculating leading up to this movie. Okay, how many characters are we gonna lose?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I knew like once they started like doing the whole Vision Scarlet Witch thing, like I was like, oh well, Vision's gone, and I had accepted that and moved on. But then they just killed a bunch of other people, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
I would say about most of us who, like, if you were following along with like the news or this, that, and the other, or just even like seeing stuff in the trailer, I think at the most, like most people probably thought that characters that we were gonna lose was probably 3, probably no more than 3.
I thought no more than 3. That's what I thought.
And the honestly the top 3 were Vision because he had the Mind Stone, so
right.
everybody that was like a well known, like if you take the stone from Vision, he's
gone.
He's gone.
I thought.
Which is yes and no.
What you mean yes and no?
Vision is a robot, so yes, he needs the Mind Stone to survive, but in the comics, Vision doesn't have the Mind Stone. He is just artificial intelligence.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I thought at first that was the route that they were gonna go, and then it was seeming like, oh no, we're just gonna kill him. So
well, no, I think that's what it's going to be. I mean, yes, it is that way right now, but I think they are going to figure out a way. They are in Wakanda. There is a way that and Wakanda is so much further advanced than Tony and all this other stuff, where they can probably reboot Vision without the Mind Stone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Vision back in the next movie without the Mind Stone.
Makes sense.
Because like I said, if you've ever read the comics, if you've ever, I mean, even the cartoons, like Vision doesn't have the Mind Stone. He's never had it. And so it would make sense for them to bring his character back completely without the Mind Stone. He doesn't really need it. Yeah, but the Vision was one of the top ones, and then the next 2 were Cap and Tony. And that's more so just for like real world stuff, like people kind of know, like, okay, Chris Evans' contract is running out, Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is running out, he's also getting older, and there's possibility of them both losing interest in doing these roles any longer, other than maybe cameos and stuff like that. So they were, obviously top of the list for people to possibly get axed out. So yeah, that was one thing. I mean, well, it wasn't for me. Like I said, I kind of expected. I didn't expect that many, but yes.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
For me, obviously, one thing that really stood out was just how well they did Thanos. Josh Brolin, I don't care how he is as Cable in Deadpool, but he was amazing as Thanos. Definitely, he definitely rounds out like the top 4 villains in Marvel Studios, movies, with Thanos, Loki, Killmonger, and Vulture.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good list.
Those are my. I mean, not in that order necessarily, but yeah, those are the 4 big Marvel villains that Marvel Studios has really been able to put out. And the thing that like impressed me so much about Thanos, so for those of you who may have read the comics or maybe not, Thanos is never that complex in the comics, or at least not when it comes to the Infinity Stones. He's not that complex. His objective is very, honestly, it's kind of stupid and kind of just pretty straightforward. Like, he collects the Infinity Stones. If you go back and read the comic series is called the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos basically collects the Infinity Stones to impress Death, because Death is an actual being in the comics, and it's a woman. And so he's basically like he's trying to like impress this chick with power, and being able to show her like how powerful he is with these stones. And so
Sounds like a man.
sounds like something a man would do, but that's definitely something that, like, you know, was written, like, I think Infinity Gauntlet was written in 1991, was published in 1991. So it, you know, it's something that works in story form, but it's not necessarily something that would work, I don't think would have worked on the big screen.
You said 1991 like it was 1936, and you just made me feel extra old.
I was 2.
I was 1, but we're not that old.
Wow, that's 2 decades ago. So that's one thing that I'm glad they were able to take a portion of his story and build it out and make it more complex, because what they basically did, like, Thanos is almost like basically the main character of this movie. The only other Avenger that really gets any type of real push or feels like he has any real purpose is Thor. Thor is the only other one that really feels like he's actually.
Iron Man too. They gave him a lot of screen time.
I don't think he had that much, but I mean I feel like his moments were very impactful, which Robert Downey Jr. does really, really well. Is when he's on screen, he's always saying or doing or feeling some type of way that feels important when you're watching him on screen. So that's one thing that I do love about RDJ, is that he's that good of an actor. Like, when he's on screen, you pay attention to whatever he's saying, whatever he's feeling, whatever, and you're locked in. But as far as like to move the story along, it's Thanos and Thor basically, which was a really weird thing that I thought they did. Not with Thanos, but more so with Thor, because I wasn't expecting that. Going in, I would have expected that it would have been more of Tony or more of Cap, or one of the two being the one that's helping move the story along when it's away from Thanos. But it was very much Thanos heavy, and then you have Thor kind of in the background scheming and planning on a way to, he's like the only real one that's coming up with an effective way of countering Thanos. Everybody else kind of like has like a preventative approach, I feel like. To trying to stop him. So yeah, that's definitely, I would say that's probably the second thing that stood out most to me in the movie.
I mean, that was pretty much mine too. They did the same thing with Thanos that they did with Killmonger. Like, you really like understood where Thanos was coming from, and you kind of was feeling for him. Like, I understand you. I get you. You wrong, but I get you. Like,
with Killmonger, like with Michael Keaton as Vulture, like your overall point makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How you're going about it
is
just, it's not logical. Like, it doesn't, not even logical, it's not humane. It's not humane.
There you go. I mean, it was logical, it was well thought out.
It's just common sense wise, or just logically, like, it just doesn't make sense. Though I have to admit, well, I'll get into that, because I do want to talk a lot about Thanos, because Thanos was just that amazing, and I want to talk about his comparison to him now versus him in the comics, because I think, like I said, there's such a huge difference.
You gonna do that now, or are you gonna do that in another video?
I'm gonna do that now. Not now, but yeah, in a minute. So that was your 3, right? You did 3?
We did 2. We both did 2.
All right. So what's your 3rd?
You're supposed to go.
I did go. Mine was Thanos.
That was your 2nd.
Okay, so I'm supposed to go with 3. All right.
Yes. Get it together.
No, my thing with 3. So my 3rd thing that really stood out to me in the movie is their ability to still surprise you with different things. Like, this is, like, once I said, 10 years worth of movie making, and so you think you know everything, or you expect to see things coming, and there were a number of things that I did not see coming. Top of that list is the Red Skull's return. I was not expecting it. I didn't see it coming, not one little bit.
I don't think anybody did.
And
I think everybody was
I think a lot of people had already written him off, had written it off as, oh, he just died, even though it was a lame death. But I think a lot of us were just like, oh, he died, okay, well, that kind of sucks. But to find out that he's basically like the keeper of the Soul Stone, or like this guardian of the Soul Stone or whatever, was just like, that is amazing. Like, it was like, it's seriously like, like, you didn't just throw him in there as like, oh no, he's been alive this entire, like, no, you threw him in there like, no, he's been alive this entire time and he has a purpose, which is just mind-boggling to me, like, that they were able to do that. So you get, like, that was something that surprised me. I know we talked about a lot of people dying already, but like the death of Loki surprised me. I was not expecting it. Like, I so thought he was.
I mean, we barely got any Loki, and the thing that I was just like so heartbroken about was we just started liking Loki. I mean, we already liked him, but
as a villain,
but now as a brother to Thor, somebody who's gonna do the right thing, and now he's gone.
Yeah, and so that. Like, that was another thing that just, once again, surprised me. A good surprise, it may sound bad, but I think it was good in the end. Like, the lack of Ant-Man and Hawkeye, like, not being in this movie was a surprise. I expected everybody to be in this movie.
I didn't think Ant-Man was going to be in there, but I thought Hawkeye was going to be in there.
I thought everybody was, because like I said, this is a cataclysm. Like, this is the world ending. I
just didn't see Ant-Man fitting in there, so I didn't think he was gonna be in there, but yeah, I for sure thought Hawkeye was gonna be.
The reason I thought he was gonna be in there was because he's on the run. He was supposed to be on the run along with Cap and his team. So it just 2 and 2, but it made sense. Like it was just like, it's one of those things, like, it surprised me and it just made sense. Like, wow, you guys kept him out of the movie, and he didn't like, they reference him. And for some people, maybe like, oh, that's a lame excuse. But for me, I was like, that makes perfect sense.
Made sense to me.
So yeah, like their ability to still surprise me 10 years after the making, a movie that we've seen kind of be building towards this, and for them to still surprise me with cameos, plot twists, and things like that were just, oh, I forgot another surprise. Maybe not big to anybody else. I like Peter Dinklage, the dude that was playing the dwarf. So Peter Dinklage I really like him. I watch Game of Thrones. He plays
a lot of things. He's been in a lot of things. So him being on screen, that was just like, oh, hey, hi.
Yeah, and so him as he plays Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones, and to see him, it's kind of ironic because he's a dwarf in real life, but yet they made him this giant dwarf.
I just thought that was just hilarious.
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. Like, so that was another great surprise for me. That I was really impressed with, and it kept me invested in the movie. And honestly, like, if they ever do another Thor movie, I want more Peter Dinklage as a giant dwarf.
All right.
What's your third thing?
I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of the same. I was just really surprised at how well it was written. I mean, it's one of those movies you can watch over and over and over again, and I don't watch movies like that. Like, I don't watch movies repeatedly, and I want to go back and see it so bad. It's just like Black Panther. Like, I want to go back and see it. And I was just surprised the whole time. I mean, they killed Loki, like, from jump. And then they killed my girl Gamora. I mean, Lord Jesus. And then it just never stopped. The killing just
But it's like every death, though, felt, it's weird to say, it felt meaningful. It felt impactful.
It was impactful. Every single death was impactful. There was no stupid, meaningless death.
No, even Gamora's, where as you started to see it coming, it still hurt. Like, you felt
hurt.
it. Yeah, you still
every single death hurt to the core.
Yeah, and so that's something that, like, was just amazing.
So to the writers, y'all had us all just, like, gut-wrenched the entire movie.
Yeah, and to do that and keep people invested. I mean, I don't want to tell anybody that you have to love this movie. We all have different tastes. We all have different perspectives.
Who don't love this movie?
But if you don't, there's people out there that don't. And if you don't,
there is?
Yeah, for sure. I've seen a couple of people on Facebook say that they didn't like it.
Shame.
I implore you to look at why you don't like it. And I'm sure it's because it's not your typical superhero movie. It's not bad guy shows up, good guys show up, good guys beat bad guy before he gets his plan off, and the end. Like, no, this is
how much fun would that have been if that had happened? Like,
it'd be as much fun as Justice League was. Yep. You wanted to see how they could have messed this movie up? Watch Justice League. That's exactly how they could have messed this movie up.
Oh, Jesus, well.
But So really quick, I just want to touch on the differences between, like I said, because Thanos is so amazing in this movie. I think a lot of people walked away just overly impressed with his character.
Very.
And I have to give the writers, Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers, whoever.
You know the names.
Yeah.
I only know the Russo brothers, and that's just because my mom mentioned them, and I said, "Who are they?"
Yeah, Kevin Feige's the guy that's been has been in charge of Marvel Studios from Iron Man 1. He's been the one that's
I know who he is.
Yeah, he's the one that's been basically piecing this all together along with the rest of his staff. But I have to give them a lot of credit because, like I said a couple minutes ago, Thanos is very direct in the comics. He is a madman who's just in love with power and in love with death, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get his bride. And while a lot of people are like, well, may think that the death of all the heroes or all these people dying was just done on a whim, no, this is something that happens in the comics, yet there's a difference in why it happens. Like I said, in the comics, Thanos is just trying to impress Death, and he basically, Death had actually brought Thanos back to life in the comics, and as a token or as a promise to her, he said, you know what, my promise to you is that I will eradicate half the population of the universe for you. And so,
interesting.
Yeah, read the first issue of Infinity Gauntlet, and you'll see this kind of story play out where Thanos is basically, after he's gotten all the stones, he has this infinite power. He's almost like a god, and he's trying to impress Death, and Death is not moved at all by anything that he's doing for her. He's trying to show her how powerful he is. He's building shrines to her. She's not moved. And then he remembers that he made her a promise. And basically the same way he does it in the movie, with a snap of his fingers, he erases half the universe. But like I said, in the movie though, for you to take that, a character that is very, in my opinion, very one-dimensional. He's focused on a woman and he's just being crazy and doing crazy things, and taking it and giving a character depth. That's so impressive, and doing it on screen in a way where a lot of people have read the comic. So a lot of people probably went into this movie having an understanding or an expectation of what would happen if they'd already read Infinity. Like my supervisor had already read Infinity Gauntlet, so I know he had an expectation for what was going to happen, or he was already kind of a couple steps ahead. But to give Thanos this type of depth where he's, in his mind, he thinks he's saving the universe, that he feels like by doing this, humanity can thrive and be more successful, it makes everything he does, like we were talking about with these deaths, they have so much weight to them. Because he's not just killing people for the sake of killing them, he's killing them because he sees them as obstacles. You're in my way of trying to save the universe, and if you're going to be in my way, if you're going to be the person that's not allowing me to save you, then I have to kill you. And you see that with Loki being the first one. You see that with Gamora, and the death of Gamora, once again, this goes back to the depth of Thanos, because once again, Thanos used to just be a madman. He would kill somebody just because. But to see on screen how it pained him to have to kill the one only person that he's ever loved, basically, was just, it's a 180 of the character. It's a complete 180 of the character, and it just, like Lula was saying earlier, it makes you feel for the character. It makes you understand his point of view, while you may not agree with it, obviously, but you understand it. And so every time he does something, every form of loss, every decision he makes, it has so much weight to it. So I have to give them a ton of credit for giving a character like that depth.
Yeah.
And with that said, once again, this is gonna be really quick as well. So the ending, right? I know a lot of people are wondering, so are my heroes dead? Is Black Panther gone forever? Is Spider-Man gone forever? The answer, short and simple, no. All right?
Well, clearly not.
For two reasons. One, all you have to do is look at the fact that they've already greenlit Black Panther 2. Spider-Man 2 is already in production. They wouldn't be doing that if these characters were staying dead.
No.
So chill out, take a breath, and just get excited for, Infinity War Part 2 or whatever they decide to call it. Because it's really the only thing that you should be wondering is, how are they going to do it? How are they going to bring all these characters back? And like I said,
if they're going to bring all of those characters back.
I'm sure they are, and there's no reason that they won't bring all these characters back. It's just a matter of, do they bring back just the ones that we saw disappear, or do they bring back more? That is honestly the real question of how much resetting do they do, and who's using the gauntlet to reset everything. Those are the two biggest questions that I think really should be in your mind. If you've seen the movie and you're curious about anything, you should really be curious about how they're going to do it, and find comfort that they're going to bring these characters back. Like I said, this is something that they did in the original comics. This is not something that Marvel Studios was like, oh, this would be fun to do to freak people out. Like, no, this is in the comics. Thanos does this. And for the rest of that comic series, which I have not read because I don't want to ruin the rest of the movie for myself,
it's a good idea.
It's all about stopping Thanos and being able to reverse what he's done. So just understand, Thanos had a plan. His plan was to erase half the universe, to be able to save humanity. And even though Thor thought he killed him, when he threw the axe into his chest, Thanos still had enough life and still had enough, was basically strong enough to survive that, and was able to
snap his fingers,
like Gamora basically said. And so, you know, if you're wondering, like, man, what did I really just see that? Yeah, if you want to, for simplicity, yes, they're gone. I don't believe they're actually dead. I think they're probably in another plane of existence, and that's really where they are. But yes, as of right now, they're gone, and I do expect the next movie to be really focused on trying to get them back. So yeah, like always, leave a comment below. Let us know if you've seen Infinity War. Well, hopefully you've seen Infinity War. If you've watched this entire...
If you haven't, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We did warn you.
We did tell you there were spoilers.
We sure did.
Shouldn't have watched the video. But if you've seen it, let us know what you think in the comments below. You know, what did you like? What really stood out to you?
And if you didn't like it, yeah, what did you not like? You can still comment. We still want to know. And make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. We look forward to being able to hold some really cool conversations with you guys in the comments. So, with that being said, peace.